you doing?
Good, come on in.
Hey, I like your shirt.
I'm here with Deadbird, and Deadbird and I recently met at a gig we both got booked onto at Mississippi Pizza. I was delighted and shocked to learn that there was another singing drummer in Portland.
Yeah.
So I think that he and I have very different approaches, and I thought it would be interesting for us to just sort of chat about how we got into being singing drummers, what tricks we've used to get to where we are, and what advice we would give to someone who's trying to get started on singing and drumming at the same time. Which I don't know if this is the case with you. Like the number one comment that people actually will come up from the audience is not to say like nice job or anything, but it's like, man, singing drummer, that's really hard.
When you're the only one who does it, it's more special.
Right.
And people are always surprised, and even if you don't do it well, you're a singing drummer, and there's not a lot of people doing that, so it's just a novelty for the first place. But of course, if you can play it well, that's a good thing too.
When did you first start playing?
The singing drumming has been a slow process because as long as I've been playing drums, I've been trying to be in a band, and being in a band has just been really difficult for me. I have a clear idea of what I want the song to be. I want it done exactly the way I want it done. So eventually I just decided I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it. So I have pre-recorded tracks and I play the drums over that. But at first I had the pre-recorded tracks with my vocals, and I just felt lazy doing that. So I decided that I wanted to sing and drum at the same time because I didn't want to do anything less than as much as I can on stage. The backing tracks were tough to make, the drumming is tough to do, but learning to sing over the drumming was a brand new thing that I never learned how to do, and it takes a long time to figure it out. To me, it feels like you've mastered the technique. Like, I'm impressed with, Thank you.
There are definitely things that you're doing that I've gotten lazy about, that I noticed that I'll ask about a little bit later, but...
Maybe less than a year ago that I've actually started playing the drums and singing to them.
So I've been singing and drumming for 30 years. For me, it's hard to even think back what the struggle is. I can remember parts of it, what was hard and where did I really spend the most time. What do you remember encountering as like the biggest obstacles, and what did you do to overcome those?
Well, I could sing the song just fine, I could play the drums just fine, but when I connect the two, either the drums would get messed up, or I would stutter, and the singing would get messed up. So really, to overcome that, I just had to do the same thing over and over and over again. And that was basically how I got it figured out. But each song has a new beat that I have to learn how to do it, has a new set of lyrics that don't really make much sense on top of it, but I have to find a way to make sense to it. So one thing that really helped me was to think of it in, I guess, mathematical terms. Each syllable goes here at this hit at this particular time, and if you remember those important spots, then you can usually connect each other spot to each other.
I think we all, as drummers, would shed and break it down.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are certain times where there's going to be a pattern, and it's not just going to like flow from my brain to my hands.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go slow, and I'm going to have to like get that muscle memory and learn it like really together, right,
exactly.
left, foot, and do all this. That advice definitely resonates with my own experience. Like really truly recognizing that your voice is a rhythmic instrument, and that it has to fit. It's like a fifth, at most, it's like the fifth level of coordination. Think of it as another rhythmic element, and it must be coordinated with the other things you're doing, and it fits on top of certain things, and it plays against at times, but you have to be much more cognizant.
But at first it always sounds really choppy and robotic, and then you just do that, and then after a while it starts to flow and you can still feel free about it, and then the parts of you that were conscious about it the entire time kind of start to disappear, and it kind of just happens as it happens. And that's my favorite part, because I feel like I'm at that part now where I can flow with it a little bit more and not think about it as choppy as possible and trying to make it perfect. I can make it just kind of feel good, and that's the part where I think that just makes it the most fun. That's where I want to learn more and try to be better at it, and it doesn't feel like a chore so much after that point.
One of the things that's really stood out to me is that you've taken advantage of your particular situation to just run this panoply of styles and really play very tight groove-oriented music across just a wide spectrum of different. I mean, the sky's the limit, because you'll have these backing tracks that you don't have to just say, well, my guitarist has to be able to play this. Yeah. You'll just put it together, and there's stuff that's that goes into crossing into hip hop and house music and drum and bass, but then there'll be these like punk rock songs, and then these really good funky numbers. And so I think that, to me, what I'm hearing is that your process is that you orchestrate, you arrange each song, you've got your backing tracks, and then you sit down and practice the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm,
and then
exactly.
Another word that you use that I like, I've said it a couple times now, is stuttering. But I know that the stutter you're talking about, where you just sort of suddenly it kind of breaks.
Yeah.
And your mouth is just like, it's kind of like you're vocalizing something. You're vocalizing the signal that got sent to your hand. It's like crosstalk.
Yeah, you're talking. Yeah, I know what you mean. And that happens all the time to me when I think about a crash cymbal. I'll say crash cymbal. Not really.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, you just grunt this stuff. Yeah. This stuff just comes out of you that.
Yeah, and I still stutter on stage. I've done my live set about 7 or 8 times now, and even the last show I had. I don't know if you were able to hear it, but I stuttered quite a few times.
I didn't catch.
No,
but I mean, me too. Like we played a show Monday, and I was like, oh, it was actually. I thought, oh, this is good because I can use I'll use this when I have my video about singing and drumming. I'll use this as an example of when it all kind of falls apart for a second. Like, how do I get back on track? Because it happened.
It happens, yeah.
My hands went numb. It felt like I had a shot of Novocaine. My jaw just went. Then I came back around. But it's kind of like you have to reboot your performance immediately, and
it can be really frustrating too, because you can feel the energy disappear internally when you do that. But the biggest struggle against that is just to keep going and keep playing as hard as you were, and just basically pretend like nobody noticed, because most of the time nobody actually noticed.
Working. So let's talk about that in isolation for a minute. So very specifically, I'll tell you what happens to me when I have to reboot, like when I stutter, and let me see how you would answer that question on the flip side. So when I have to reboot, for me, my guiding principle is always kind of, as an arranger, my brain is running the show. Like, I need to play to my ears. I need to play to the song that's a couple measures ahead in my mind. Mm-hmm. And that when something's wrong, I just need to stop the offending limb or the offending element, and then kind of focus on what it should be doing, and then just drop back in.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like the most important thing to reboot first for me is my voice. Mm-hmm. Like, I could get away with, there's a little bit of sleight of hand. It's an acceptable choice for me to stop playing drums for a second. It's an acceptable choice for me to kind of sit back or just hit the hi-hat or just a backbeat to kind of mask the fact that I'm
falling apart.
Maybe a little bit off my rocker. The voice comes in, and then my framework comes in. Mm-hmm. Like, whatever the simplest version of this beat, I just need to get back on track.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to stuttering or falling apart?
Well, for me, losing the beat is worse than losing the vocals. The vocals get messed up all the time, and those are the mistakes I make the most. But when the beat falls out, I want to make this illusion that the backing track and the beat are one and the same. So if I mess up on the drums, it kind of breaks that illusion. And I have this song called "I Hit My Head." I have that crazy shuffle beat. I was playing it, I was singing it, but I was playing it off beat. I was playing the other side of it that I shouldn't have been playing. So I stopped singing, and there was vocals that were supposed to be going on, and I got the beat back, and then I just picked up where the vocals were, because that's always the most important part for me.
And that actually makes perfect sense. That, I think, illustrates a really fundamental difference between the music you and I are making, which is that in your case, you know, the ghosts you employ do not waver, and they do not find you, and they do not bend at all. You have to lock in. That's the first thing that's got to happen. You've got to lock in. And if that means that you drop half a verse, then that's what has to give.
I've dropped entire verses before, but I kept the beat right there, and that's the most important part.
Yeah, like, and then in my situation, it's very different. Everyone is looking to me for where
you
we
guys are communicating.
So
my music doesn't communicate with me. The music just exists already, and it's just gonna stay the way it's gonna stay.
And the strongest signal I can send them is what I'm singing. Do you feel like you're at the point where you could sit in with a band and play a familiar song and sing it? Or is that something that you would need to work it up?
That's a pretty tough question. I haven't thought about that. I only sing and drum to my own music. I've never done a cover with this. So I'd say depends on the song. If it's just a 4/4 song I'm familiar with, like
let's say you could get away with an array of simple rock beats.
Yeah, I don't think I would be able to do it. I'd give it a try, I'd jump into it, but no, I don't think I'd be able to do that. I think I need to practice each song.
So I think right there, that's a big difference between our two approaches.
Yeah.
Like, for me...
That's something I need to practice. I don't know. That's something I should start working on. That's a great idea.
So I think that the thing I can learn from you is the reminder of the value of woodshedding. That the things I think of as limits, which are, I need a framework, I need a motor, I'm going to keep a pulse going in my body, but like I would stay away from, for instance, I stay away from like mixed meter songs of mine. When I'm drumming, I've recognized, hey, it's really hard for me to like do this thing in 11 and sing.
Yes, yeah.
I can do one or the other, but I can't do both reliably. And then I just sort of leave it at that rather than say, or I could practice the hell out of it, and then I could be used to it and be ready to go. I know that I could sit down in any song that I know that's in 4 or in 6 or
something reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, I know I have the toolbox to sing anything without any preparation over something, and I'll put it together in my head. Like I'll dress it up as I go and figure it out as I go. Now I wouldn't play it. I never have played like note perfect drum covers anyway.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's all just it's a feel and it's a sense of things. It was very similar. I wasn't originally the singer in my own band, but I was the songwriter. But the guy who was originally singing, he felt like I was a better singer than he was, and at the time that was a little bit of a questionable call. But he said he didn't want to sing anymore. He just wanted to play rhythm guitar, and so I started being the singer. And so that's when I had to, get used to it, and I just sort of thought, okay, well, I can tap my foot and sing, I can clap and sing, I can snap and sing, and so this is just kind of an extension of making that framework a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So I originally just approached it as, I'm going to always have my shoulders and my spine kind of moving, and then I'm just going to let that flow out to my hands, and I'm going to learn that I could go boom, chick, boom, all the live long day and do whatever I want with my voice. Yeah. So I would just sit and do this and talk or sing or do whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And just keep
going.
going.
I've done the exact same thing. I would do that in class.
Just like 3 limbs and keep going.
Yeah. The drummer teacher's crazy doing that.
Well, let me start that recorder and let's hear something. Let's hear, how about I Hit My Head?
I Hit My Head? You got it. I hit my head, on the ceiling and it made me believe. I hit my head on the ceiling and I lost my memory. I don't remember a thing, but I remember my girl, I
remember my family and just how good they treat me. The less I know, the more I seem to see. 'Cause I was too busy working on being somebody, and I'm just glad to take it and forget about me. And in the hospital bed, when they thought I was dead, there's nowhere else in the world where I would rather be. I hit my head on the ceiling and it made me bleed. I hit my head on the ceiling and I lost my memory. Don't remember a thing. But I remember my girl, I remember my family and just how good they treat me. The less I know, the more I seem to see. I was too busy working on being somebody, and I'm just glad to take it and forget about me. And in the hospital bed, when they thought I was dead, there's nowhere else in the world where I would rather be. I hit my head on the ceiling and it made me bleed. I hit my head on the ceiling and I lost my memory. And I'm glad it helped me see.